Guys, I'm literally just gonna fucking.
Hey guys,
I'm
Chris Fix here, and
5 minutes of
today
this
I'm gonna
video,
show-
and it's gonna be ruined when I come back because I'm gonna skip. I'm probably not even watch the result, and your day's gonna be ruined. Fuck me, fuck you.
You had to dig up your entire driveway and redo it to make it look amazing. Now, I thought this would be an interesting video. It's not what I normally do, but the driveway is a pretty important place for me because this is where I do all my work. This is where I make all the videos to teach you guys how to fix your car, and this is basically like my office, and it's seen better days. Look at this. This is all just crumbling apart, and it's just not good. It's not safe to work on anymore, and it's difficult to work on. Even something as simple as the transition between inside the garage and the driveway is sunken down and in disrepair along the whole length of the garage. When I move the toolbox in and out of the garage multiple times a day, you could see it get stuck at that sunken part where the driveway meets the garage. And this toolbox is very heavy, so getting it over this ledge is difficult, so fixing this is gonna be a big deal for me. Another major problem with the driveway is when I go to use jack stands. You can see how the unleveled driveway causes the jack stand to wobble, which is definitely not safe at all. Like I said, this driveway has seen better days. It just constantly keeps lifting up, and it's not good. It needs to get redone. There's no doubt in my mind. And it's hard because, like I said, this is my office. This is where I work, and this is where I make my videos. So how do I redo a driveway and, not work on it for a couple of days? Well, I figured, let me show you the entire process. Now, unfortunately, a driveway this bad cannot be easily repaired with common hand tools like we're used to. We're gonna have to bring out the heavy machinery. But don't worry, I'm gonna show you the entire process from start to finish, including ripping up the old driveway, putting down new gravel, grading and leveling it, bringing a compactor in, and then putting down the new asphalt driveway so we could get amazing results. So let's take one last look at this old, tired driveway. She's treated us well with 10 years of repair videos that garnered over 1.5 billion views, where you guys learned how to properly repair your cars. So let's fix this driveway up. Okay, so first we need to dig up the old driveway and get down to the dirt and rock underneath. And to do that, we're using a skid steer with a tooth bucket. The team starts at the beginning of the driveway over by the sidewalk, and the goal is to pry up the asphalt without damaging the sidewalk. You also don't want to dig into the ground too deep, which could loosen up that dirt and rock underneath the driveway. We want that dirt and rock to be as hard as possible. This is known as the subbase, and it's nice and hard and compacted after 30 years of this driveway being on top of it, so we don't want to mess that up. Now, once the skid steer gets below that layer of asphalt, the rest of the driveway peels up pretty easily. I mean, just watch this. Check out how the asphalt just comes right up and goes right into the bucket. And now once that bucket is filled, the skid steer dumps the old pieces of driveway into the dump truck, and the process repeats. Now if you look closely, you can see my driveway is actually 2 layers of asphalt because when they first built the house, the contractor took a shortcut and put down only 1 inch of asphalt to try to save money. A driveway should at least be 2 inches of asphalt, but since it was so thin, the driveway started to crack, and the owner of the house at the time complained, and instead of digging up the driveway and repairing it properly, all they did was put down another layer of asphalt right on top of it, which ultimately caused this to fail. Now once they get to the garage, they have to be careful not to damage the garage doors and the concrete slab. You can see the spotter helping the worker in the skid steer break up that last piece of asphalt next to the garage, and now that that's broken up, the team could get in there and manually pick up the last few pieces of asphalt and throw it into the bucket. That way there's no risk at damaging the garage. And that includes this last giant piece of asphalt. Now with the driveway completely cleared out, the last of the asphalt is dumped into the dump truck, and now there's about 25 tons of asphalt in this truck, and this will be taken to the asphalt plant where they cut it up into little 1-inch pieces called millings, and then that'll be recycled and used in new driveways. Okay, so with the old driveway dug up, the next thing to do is make sure the new driveway will be straight. So the workers use a rope that they pull tight from one end of the driveway to the other. Then they walk down the rope and mark the edge with paint. Once one side's done, the process is repeated on the other side of the driveway as well. Now with these lines put down, a tool called a mattock is used to cut a straight edge along the entire driveway. And on the other side of the driveway, another method of getting that straight line is to use just a basic shovel and work your way down the line to create a nice and straight edge. Okay, so the edges are straight and all the old asphalt is removed, so we're down to this bare dirt. And the old driveway really compacted this dirt, so it's very hard, and that's good. This is a great subbase for the new driveway to go over, but the problem is it's not level. So the solution is to use quarry processed stone, also known as QP stone, to level this subbase. Now, if you never had a driveway and you're putting a brand new one in, you're gonna want 4 to 6 inches of this quarry processed stone put down. But since we have a nice dense subbase, they're only adding an inch or 2 of stone to grade and level the surface. That way the new driveway won't have any sinkholes, and it'll slope slightly towards the street to allow the rain to run off. So the skid steer driver is putting down about 1 to 2 inches of QP stone as evenly as possible over the entire driveway. And once the stone covers the whole driveway, you can see he's using the bucket to level out any high or low spots, like so. Finally, the team uses rakes to manually level out the driveway, focusing mostly on the edge of the driveway. Now these guys are doing great work and getting the driveway pretty level. And normally this is where most people would stop, but the owner of the company said he has a trick up his sleeve to get this driveway extra level. And that trick is to get the asphalt paver, back it all the way up the driveway, and do a dry run to let the asphalt machine level the driveway. You can see the screed, which is that flat piece of metal at the back of the paver, leveling out the extra gravel on the surface. And using the paver for this actually makes a lot of sense because this is what's going to be laying down and leveling out the asphalt in the next step. And not only are they making it extra level, but the weight of the paver compresses the stone, and you can really see how well this trick works to flatten out that stone. Now, while they were leveling the driveway, I noticed the concrete path going to my front door got damaged by accident right at the corner here. Luckily, I caught it, and this is a pretty easy fix at this stage. First, they need to lay down a straight
We're just gonna cut a line and then make it look nice, right?
line, and to do that they're using a rope with some chalk on it to imprint the line onto the concrete. Next they use a gas-powered concrete saw with a diamond blade to follow that line and cut the concrete. And as you can see, anytime you cut concrete, it creates a lot of dust.
I don't like that noise. Does the noise bother you guys? Like, the noise hurts me. Ugh. This is why I can't work construction.
So the trick to keep the dust down is to spray the area with water as you cut. Now once they're done cutting with the saw, the concrete pieces could be removed, and then they're just gonna fill this area in with stone and compact it and level it with the rest of the driveway. I'm just glad I saw this now and said something, because if I waited, this would have been a lot more difficult to fix. So now the guys are finishing off leveling the rest of the driveway with the paver, and once that's done, we're ready to move on to the next step. But first, the team took a quick lunch break, and apparently one of the guys was a fan of the channel, and he was showing his friends the videos I make. I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, the last step before adding the asphalt is to compact the subbase even more so we won't have any sinkholes. Now the reason why they're spraying down the driveway with water is because dry stone and dirt doesn't compact very well. Think about building a sandcastle with dry sand. It just falls apart. But if you use wet sand, it holds together. So the same principle applies here. With the driveway wet, now they could take a tandem roller which weighs 4,000 pounds, as much as a large car, and all this weight is pushing on the ground through these two rollers, which really compresses the stone and dirt together.
A truck went over my foot once and nothing happened. I feel like I would survive.
And if you listen, not only is it rolling over the stone with all the weight, but it also has a vibration feature, and those vibrations shake the particles of dust and dirt and stone together so they fit closer and you could compact it even more. So the vibrations make a huge difference on getting this compact. So the tandem roller is worked up and down the driveway multiple times, overlapping its path to make sure the entire subbase is rock solid. And once they're done with this, we are ready for the final step, laying down the asphalt. Now something I noticed that I was pretty impressed by was after each step, these guys clean their machines immediately, which is how they look so good, even though they're used every day. All right, and for the last main step, the asphalt paver is brought onto the driveway to warm up. While it's warming up, the workers mark the center of the driveway because the driveway is wide enough where there has to be 2 passes with the paver, which you're gonna see in a second. Once the driveway is marked, the dump truck is back from the asphalt plant with 25 tons of I-5 hot asphalt mix. So he backs her up to the paver, that way he can dump it in. With the conveyor on, some of the hot mixed asphalt is dumped into the paver, and if you can't tell, this is very, very hot, around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So with a full load, the paver is backed up as close as it could get to the garage door, and they dump a bunch of hot asphalt for the workers to manually spread. Since the machine can't get all the way into the garage, they spread it by hand and they check the asphalt to make sure that there's no low spots and that it's graded with a slight slope away from the house so rainwater runs down the driveway and not into the garage. Now with the correct grade and thickness, the paver backs up onto the fresh asphalt, then the extensions are moved outwards to line up with the edge of the driveway, and finally the screed is lowered, which pushes down the fresh asphalt to compress and level it. Now the asphalt starts pouring out, and you can see the extensions keeping the asphalt off the grass, giving it a nice straight edge as the paver moves down the driveway.
This is actually interesting.
And while you can see the asphalt comes out as a bunch of small pieces in the front, if we go over to the back, the asphalt gets leveled and slightly compressed by the screed, and that creates a nice, smooth, level driveway. I mean, just take a look at how good this driveway looks coming out of the back of that paver. Finally, at the end of the driveway, the last bit of hot mix is poured out and the paver is moved out of the way so the workers can get in there and level and grade where the driveway meets the sidewalk. And over here, it's important that the driveway is level with the sidewalk so the rainwater can run off into the street and not puddle on the end of the driveway.
Before it like dries up?
With half the driveway laid down, now it's time to do the other half. So the dump truck dumps the final load of asphalt into the paver, and the paver makes quick work at laying the other side of the driveway down. You can see the extension overlaps slightly on the part that was just paved, and if you watch, sometimes the worker spins one of the bars, and what that does is adjust the thickness of the asphalt.
So in Texas, who pays for the roads? If there's a new road, who pays for it? Is it taxed?
Going down. They want to make sure the asphalt is the same thickness on both the right and left side of the driveway. Alright, so with the entire driveway paved, now the tandem rollers used one last time to compress the hot asphalt to make it as smooth and dense as possible. And just watch at how the tandem roller compresses and smooths out this rough asphalt at the surface. It's just so satisfying seeing that rough surface get turned into a nice, smooth driveway. And finally, with one last pass, the driveway is completely smooth.
Damn.
Now, as the roller continues to go up and down the driveway to compress it even more, it can't get to every single spot like right here next to the garage. So a smaller plate compactor is used to get into these areas that the roller can't. Then once the roller is done, for the final step, the plate compactor makes its way around the driveway, touching every square inch to smooth out the finish. And if you're wondering, the reason why they use water is to prevent the hot asphalt from sticking to the machinery, but it's also used to help smooth out the finish because water turns to steam when it hits that hot asphalt. And that steam helps iron out the imperfections in the driveway, and it makes it look a lot more uniform and smooth. So with one last pass with the plate compactor, and our driveway is officially done. Now this took a little over 4 hours to complete, and I think the results speak for themselves. These guys did an amazing job.
That's it?
All right. Now that the guys are heading out, let me show you the breakdown of how much this cost. So for digging up that old driveway and hauling that asphalt away, putting down the QP stone base, and then grading and leveling and compacting that stone base, and finally adding 3.5 inches of commercial grade I-5 hot asphalt, and then rolling that, all of this cost me $6,000.
What? That is cheap.
And so you have an idea, that came out to $5.45 a square foot. So now you could do the math to get a rough estimate to give you an idea of how much it would cost to get your driveway redone.
That's cheap shit, bro.
All right, and check out the driveway. This looks so...
That's good price, bro. Isn't that shit usually like... I thought that shit was like 10,000 usually. Driveways are expensive, man. And they did 4 hours? Wait, those guys are insanely good. Wow.
Oh, good. Man, I should have done this a long time ago. It's just hard because I always have to have cars on here. I always have to make videos, and I have to keep working to keep going with YouTube. So, but I got a nice little spot here that I was able to do it. And man, it came out awesome. Holy smokes. You could actually feel the heat radiating off this thing. Well, I know what, this is going to be really cool. Check this out. So this is my thermal camera, and the purple color is about 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and the yellow is about 180. You can see the side closer to us is cooler because that's what they laid down first, compared to the other side, which is still pretty hot. Now it's important that you don't walk on this until it cools down, which takes about a day or two. And they told me to keep the cars off of this for at least a week. That way the asphalt has time to cure and harden. So there you go, out with the old and in with the new. And I'm glad I finally pulled the trigger and got this done because look at the difference. Here's the before and after. We used to have giant potholes like this, and now it's nice and smooth. The edge of the driveway was crumbling into pieces, and now it's straight and solid.
No, that's
so I know they said I had to wait a week before driving on it, but I wanted to keep the cars off as long as I could. So here we are 2 weeks later, and I'm able to park part of my fleet on this beautiful driveway. And not only does this driveway look absolutely amazing, but it's completely functional. It's nice and flat, there's no more bumps, and over here where I had that issue where the old driveway sunk down and created that giant lip, look, nice and flat now. so I could get my toolbox in and out of the garage without having to lift it up, nice and easy.
Cool.
Also, if you remember, with the old driveway, the jack stand was wobbly and moved around, which was very dangerous. Well, now check it out. It doesn't wobble at all, no matter which direction you put it. It is nice and...
Huh?